Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the four-card fights for UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Rodriguez. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight on the card, we have in the light heavyweight division, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Jung. And how I see this fight right here between Nzechukwu versus Jung. So you got two long, lanky guys for the weight class. Jung more filled out, more muscular, and Chuk was more long, lanky, and lean. And how I see this fight going is definitely Jung has the power, and Chukwu has the volume. Striking technique is relatively around the same, but Jung packs more power. Wrestling will give the Jung. Grappling in general will give the Jung. But I feel like when Chukwu, he might overlook his wrestling defense and say, oh, it's not that great. It's definitely not nothing phenomenal at this given juncture. We have not seen him tested too much. We've seen it in the nostalgic fight, and we've seen it in his last fight, but that last fight was more so jiu-jitsu than wrestling. A lot of backpacking, which a lot of wrestlers won't be good at. And Jung definitely, we're not going to see him go all there backpacking. Probably, if anything, probably going to tire his legs out. And I see that's kind of where I'm going to lean with. I feel like Jung going to be there looking for those, that 1-2, looking for those, putting power behind the shots. But I feel like a lot of it's going to be eating on the high, like a lot of those power shots are going to be taken on the high guard of Nzechukwu. He's going to be able to roll with them, eat them. Maybe the judge might say, oh my gosh, he's hitting with so much power. Or maybe the commentator who might be reacting like that, be biting on all the fact that Jung is landing shots, but really gonna be Jung Nzechukwu rolling with them, eating them on his high guard, taking some of the power shots and be landing the cleaner shots all the while in the striking matchup where Jung gonna be hitting high guard. And I don't feel like Jung mixes to the body that well either. So another thing, I don't feel like Jung is such a great wrestler either. He looked decent against William Knight, but William Knight is a guy who uses a lot of power in his grappling, and Jung just simply was a little bit more technical in his wrestling and had the height and reach, well, the size on him, and was able to turn him when he tried to go initiate clinches in grappling situations. So, not to say that Jung is bad or anything, I just don't think Jung is necessarily a super great wrestler. I don't think he's going to have such a great success with Nzechukwu. And I think, if anything, it's going to backfire in the case where he's trying to wrestle so much and he's tired his own arms out trying to wrestle, whereas Nzechukwu was just kind of flowing and just tapping him, and then Jung starts to slow down, and then Nzechukwu just simply outworks him. I see this as a close matchup, a close fight. But like I said, I feel like Nzechukwu will be able to eat a lot of the power shots on his high guard, going to be able to touch Jung more cleaner than Jung will be able to touch Nzechukwu. Jung keeps his hands very low, very open for counters. I don't think Nzechukwu is such a great counterer, but I think he might be able to land one or two good counters, and that's going to catch Jung attention. And then in the meanwhile, he's going to be landing the cleaner shots. Maybe not with as much power, and maybe not, like I said, as much effect, but he's going to be landing without as much adversity because he's not going to have to go through a guard. Jung's hands going to be down, especially that rear hand's going to be down a lot to be caught with a check hook. He's going to be there. It's going to be open in a very close fight where Jung probably score like 1 or 2 takedowns, maybe get like 30 seconds of control time, and maybe try to get some 2 or 3 minutes of cage control time, like by holding him, clinch controlling him against the cage. But Nzechukwu landing knees, working to get out and then land at distance and catch Jung's power shots on his guard. In a very close fight, probably a split decision. I think Kennedy Nzechukwu was just going to be able to come on late in that third round and take it. Second round probably close, first round probably pretty close, but third round be able to run away with that third round and win a close decision over Jung. So in this fight, I have Kennedy Nzechukwu via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Diakiese versus Rafael Alves. So Diakiese versus Alves, how I see this one right here. So Diakiese has a height and reach. I think about 3 inches of height, about 5 inches of reach over Rafael Alves. Both guys are explosive. I just think Diakiese is a more naturally explosive fighter. Alves got like that muscle out explosion where he can explode for like a good little while, where Diakiese just naturally this fast. He has that speed and explosiveness even when tired. I'm not saying he's gonna be as fast when he's tired, but it's not a case of that he loses so much when he loses that zap of energy. He always gonna be fast, always be explosive. Like more slender, more lean and explosive, whereas John Alves is like bulky, kind of explosive. Like I said, it don't last through 3 rounds. When it's not there through 3 rounds, typically. So I feel like GK is gonna be long, be to draw out those big power shots and those explosions of Alves early, and to be able to just outstrike him. Of course, fight, be smart, be sharp, be defensive minded, land his shots, not get caught up in the firefights, and fight at the end of his reach. And like I said, be quicker and faster and sharper throughout the fight. First round probably be pretty close, but the fight goes on, you start to see the technical differences come out. And I think Casey's like I say, I feel like overall he's a faster, explosive fighter throughout 3 rounds, not just 1 round. I think he's a more technical fighter. And at this level, I think he's a more experienced fighter. I think he's a more skilled fighter. I was probably have jiu-jitsu. Casey had wrestling, and I feel like if anyone's gonna mix in wrestling and have success, I think it would be Diakiese. I don't think he'll do it too much. Maybe just to throw off the pressure of Alves if he's trying to come in too heavy and like duck on a level change, scoop him up, and get like a double leg, and then just pass to side control to avoid most of the submissions from Alves and just like grind out a decision over him. I don't think it's the case. I'm not saying he's gonna wrestle him the whole fight. Like I said, that might be just one time. I'm not gonna say he's gonna go out there and wrestle with a guy that has that level of BJJ. He might just go for one single takedown. Maybe one. That's about it. Probably might even do that, but I do think if anyone is to have successful takedowns, it will be Diakiese if he does choose to use it. But I think it'd be a pretty clear decision. Close first round, but second and third should be pretty clear. I think it's even possible for Diakiese to get a 30-27. So in this one, I got Mark Diakiese via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Courtney Casey versus Liana Jojua. And I see this fight between Casey versus Jojua. I think Casey's a pretty solid fighter. I think Jojua's a pretty solid fitter. But I feel like Casey, I feel like she struggles to defend against anybody that tries to take her down. Like her takedown defense almost becomes zero. If you any bit decent in grappling, any bit decent, she'll let you get a takedown and tap her out. I'm not really impressed with Courtney Casey. Her striking, she's pretty impressive. And when people don't choose to grapple with her, she's pretty impressive. She can be in there with literally any woman and give them a tough fight. And even sometimes when they take her down, she still gives them a tough fight. So she's a tough out for just about anyone in the division. But I just don't like her inconsistency, and I don't like her grappling a lot of times. I feel like it'd be a case where she can just get a takedown and get grinded out really easily, or get taken down and tapped out. I think in this case, it'd be a pretty competitive fight. But I felt like Jojua eventually will look to take it to the ground and will be able to find success on the ground. And then once she starts to find that pattern, she'll be able to consistently take her back to the ground and work on her, like land ground and pound her, hold her there. Then I think eventually, like late in that second round, she's able to tap out Courtney Casey. So in this fight, I have Liana Jojua via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Sean Woodson versus Colin Anglin. And how I see this fight right here is I really just don't think Anglin has anything presented for Sean Woodson. Maybe his wrestling, but I don't think his wrestling is anything phenomenal. Striking, definitely not phenomenal. Pretty basic, pretty average. Striking defense is less than average. I think Sean Woodson just dices him up. I feel like Colin Anglin could try to go for some takedown, but probably get met with some flying knees. And Sean Woodson should be able to flow back to his feet if he gets taken down. I don't think Colin Anglin grappling is nothing special. His wrestling pretty average. Striking's average. Striking defense below average. I think, like I say, Anglin might have a little bit of success with his wrestling, if anything, and I'm not even gonna give him that. I think he's gonna probably try to go for one takedown, look pretty decent on it, but Woodson's gonna be able to defend it, then just get back to distance, pick him apart, and put him out within that first round. So in this fight, I have Sean Woodson via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Cynthia Calvillo versus Andrea Lee. And I see this one. So when Andrea Lee first came to the UFC and prior to UFC, I was pretty high on her. I thought she was gonna do pretty well. I thought she was gonna ascend to the top of the division. Like this woman looked like the full package. But then I started to see holes in her game and I ignored them. Now it happened again. I think it happened like 3 times where I picked her and she just fell flat. And it's not simply just picking her against her because she fell flat several times. I just see like this thing. I haven't seen necessarily no evolution. She tapped out Antonina Shevchenko, but what does that win really count for? Everybody tapping out Antonina Shevchenko. Not a really impressive win. On her feet against women, she's always getting jabbed up in the face all day long by Roxanne Modafferi and Lauren Murphy. Like that's not a good look. Like they all have her eyes swelled up, her lips swelled up. She can't even hold her mouth in her mouth. Then she's getting taken down and controlled for large portions of rounds. And I think just about every single fight outside of maybe 1 or 2, she's getting taken down. So Cynthia Calvillo is probably one of the better wrestler grapplers she's has fought. So I don't think she's gonna have any less success than any of those women. And I think she could strike better than a lot of them. I don't think she would lose to Roxanne Modafferi. She probably, matter of fact, Lauren Murphy probably a close fight. I think she could beat Lauren Murphy, but I know for sure she would beat Roxanne Modafferi. And again, MMA math, if y'all want to go on that, but I think Calvillo should be able to find the shots on Andrea Lee. She got that female Cerrone thing a bit to her, like where she can't move her head. She got the full skill set, but I think Cerrone got way better wrestling, defense, and offense than her. So she's not quite Cerrone yet, but that's not even a compliment. I'm saying Cerrone better than her. Cerrone way better than her, but she's not qualified to be a female Cerrone yet, but she does got Cerrone head movement. Like her head movement is not there. She's stiff in the neck, and you could jab her in the face all day long, punch her mouthpiece wherever you want to punch it because she's not moving her head. You could just go for style point because her head not moving. But yeah, she got solid striking, got solid length, got around skill set, but I think she'll be open down the middle all day. Matter of fact, open everywhere because like I said, the head not moving. And I think Calvillo should be able to pressure, land shots over the top, land shots down the middle. And then maybe once you start getting her reacting over top, duck under, score takedowns, and work on Andrea Lee. It is really is grind out a decision over Andrea Lee in this one. So in this one, I got Cynthia Calvillo via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Thiago Moises versus Joel Alvarez. And I see this fight between Moises versus Alvarez. I think Alvarez is very much a wild card. I'm not picking him. He got a good limb, got a pretty decent striker for what I've seen, but we have not really seen him really show a good striking bout from like round 1 to round 3. It's either been he finds a guillotine, finds a submission, or it's a case of he's going against a guy that just a much higher level striker, like he fought Damir Ismagulov. So I can't really say, he fought some guy 3 rounds and really seen his striking really flesh out. But you got to respect his striking. You got to respect his guillotine, respect his grappling. But I think Thiago Moises will respect it. I think he can definitely shut down every single submission game, bit of submission game that Joel Alvarez has. I also think Thiago Moises has fought much better competition, has fought much more fights against better competition, where I feel like Joel Alvarez, Joe Duffy's pretty good, but he's not to the level of people that Moises has been fighting and even beating. Damir Ismagulov is probably up there with the people that Thiago Moises has been fighting and beating, fighting. But yeah, either way, Thiago Damir Ismagulov, I think he would beat Moises, but again, not trying to go too much on MMA math. Matter of fact, I don't go on MMA math. But either way, I think Thiago Moises should be able to find that takedowns on Joel Alvarez. Joel Alvarez takedown defense currently lies at 0%. So his takedown defense isn't the greatest currently. I think a lot of times he goes for submission when people go for that takedown. So he does, give up that position. But this is going to play against him when he tries to do that against Moises. Moises going to easily be able to see the takedown. See the guillotine, pass it, scoop him, pass to the side control, and just neutralize any guillotine and just take it away from him. And if he does get maybe a half guard guillotine attempt, Moises going to stay calm, stay composed, and be able to get right out of that. Moises is just too much of a high-level grappler, too experienced, too solid for any of that to really get off on him. Alvarez will have to hurt him first or wear him out first, which I don't think he will. I don't think Alvarez pace is all that crazy. I don't think if he is the better striker, shows to be the better striker, I don't think it'll be that much of a degree that he can get off so much that he puts Moises in such a compromised position that he will be available for the guillotine or submissions. But ultimately, I think Thiago Moises has been working a lot on his striking. So I think the striking should be either close or he can lean either way. It'd be a close striking match, or you can lean a little bit either way. But ultimately, I think the grappling will be the biggest area, and I think Moises will fully take advantage of that. Be a score takedown on Joel Alvarez, give him the opportunity to go for submission just to take it away from him and get the position and grind out a decision over Alvarez. And a pretty competitive fight, but pretty clear. So in this one, I got Thiago Moises via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the first fight on our main card. So in our first fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Yadong Song versus Julio Arce. And I see the fight between Song versus Arce. I think Song is a real solid fighter, real solid, very young. He's still sub 25 and so skills and has accomplished so much. He ain't fighting for no title, ain't won no titles or nothing. Ain't no on a path to he not 1 or 2 wins away from a title shot, but dude has been definitely putting in a good body of work, and definitely good solid and definitely improving and got some good wins behind him. Arce on that side came out looking pretty good and like he was going to rise up the division pretty quickly. Then he kind of ran into a wall. The Shayman Moraes fight was a fight that he should have won, should have dominated, but that panned out. And then he came back and took a while off and fought Hakeem Dawood. But now he's starting to regain some steam. And now he's at a lower weight class at 135, and I think he's looking pretty good at 135. But past the side, we just look at what they present for each other. I don't think Song really presents no wrestling, but for Arce, all that great. He probably can score a takedown too. I don't think he's nothing potentially great from Song as far as grappling. I think Arce overall is the much better grappler in my opinion, submission, wrestling. I think overall, I give Song a slight wrestling advantage in my opinion, but BJJ, I give Arce the clear advantage to BJJ, and overall, I give him a clear advantage in grappling, like they are to grapple. Just on feet, Song got to go 1 inch taller, but I think Arce has a 3-inch reach advantage over Song. And as far as striking wise, I think Song definitely brings more power behind the shots, but he loads up a lot with his shots. Even though it might not be loaded somebody that's telegraphing their shots, it's still a bit of time lapse because you're loading up or you're putting more power. You're forcefully putting power in your shots, whereas Arce just flows. He doesn't try to load up or put extra power. It just flows off the hip. It's not a case of trying to generate extra power or look for that big explosive power. It's like the momentum and force alone just generates the power he needs to, hurt his opponents. And I think that's gonna be a big factor. I think Song gonna be reaching a lot. I think Arce's footwork is better. He doesn't like his footwork isn't is telegraphed. His footwork isn't is exaggerated. It's very short, simple, and subtle. And he's able to like get in and out of range, avoid shots, and then be right back to land his clean counters and land his offense. And I think that's gonna be the case. I think Song gonna be coming. Song like definitely this gonna be a competitive fight without a doubt. But I think his fight starts to wear on, and Arce starts to draw those counters. Draw out shots from like Song and be the land counters, be the use reaching out boxer, be the cleaner, sharper boxer as the fight goes on. I definitely think that starts to wear on Song. I think Arce comes on stronger in the later rounds. And this wins that third round pretty clear. First round pretty close. Second round, Arce starts to break away. In third round, I think it's pretty clear. It's a pretty solid 10-9 round for Arce. So in a very close fight, I got Arce winning by decision. So in this fight, I have Julio Arce via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Miguel Baeza versus Chaos Williams. And I see this fight between Baeza versus Chaos Williams. I think Baeza really disappointed me in his last fight against Ponzinibbio, to be honest. He looked pretty good, all right, in the first round. As a matter of fact, at several points in this fight, he was really the only one hurting his opponent. Ponzinibbio never really hurt Baeza, I guess, until the very end of the fight. But throughout the fight, I think Baeza was hurting Ponzinibbio at several different points. Early on the first, points to the second, points to the third. But I think he got too caught up in the striking that he didn't realize he was losing, and he was getting caught by the jab so often by Ponzinibbio that Ponzinibbio was starting to generate points. He was starting to land that was a significant strike and kept landing. Whereas Baeza probably was feeling like every time I land a real good shot on him, I'm hurting him. He's wobbling, he's reacting, he's backing away. But he was losing the point fight. And then we started to give Ponzinibbio the jab. Ponzinibbio started to get off with the jab, and he started to get off with the kicks, and he started out kicking, started outwork him. Whereas Baeza, again, he was looking for the finish, or he was looking for I'm hurting him, but he was getting off that. He was starting to go behind on strikes total. Like strike total started to shift away from him. So Baeza got too much caught up in the striking and got lost in the fight. That's not a good look. Didn't do well when pressured. And another thing, you going against a fighter where you should have the wrestling advantage. You do have the size advantage. You have the youth advantage and whatnot. And you did not look to mix in wrestling at all. Matter of fact, it was Ponzinibbio looking for wrestling, so that was not a good look. So what I'm going to go take from that is, I know he's still a young fighter. He can make adjustments, but I'm going to lean against him again. I'm going to lean against him now to not really look to mix in his wrestling. Like he has, another fight where he should look to wrestle. And I know William grappling nowhere near where Ponzinibbio's grappling is, and you probably should even less respect his take. I'm not saying disrespect, but you should be even more willing to go for takedowns against William than Ponzinibbio, because Ponzinibbio is supposed to have worked on his BJJ so much, worked on his wrestling so much. But I still think Ponzinibbio is still liable to get wrestled to a decision and grind out and dominated by a solid wrestler like a Usman, Covington, and some of these other guys. These definitely Khamzat Chimaev probably make him look real easy out there. Even though he made such improvements and people will speculate this, even though it hasn't really been tested, I think he's still very much liable. And I feel like Baeza could have had at least some decent success with his wrestling if he chose to use it. But either way, enough of that point. Baeza going in with a guy. I feel like he's the more technical striker than Chaos Williams. But it's not like he's a great counter striker. He doesn't do very well with pressure. And that's what Williams will present to him. Pressure, combinations. And unless you're going to have some clean counters to catch him on any of these combinations or before these combinations start, you're going to be behind a lot. And Williams not going to be afraid to let his hands go. He's going to be faster, more explosive, a little bit unorthodox, a little bit wonky, and definitely open for some counters. But I don't think Baeza's going to be there to land those counters. Like, I don't think it's, like I said, I have not seen sharp counters from Baeza. He got a decent jab, got some solid leg kicks, he got good size, good power, but it's not like he all that fleshed out as a striker himself. So I don't think he'll be able to land those counters like he needs to, or land that perfect counter. It's going to be a case where it's just not going to be there. And Chaos Williams going to be landing shots, going to be coming with combinations. And Baez is not going to be reacting as well as he needs to these counters, to these barrages. And again, just be on, kind of be behind. He might land his kicks at a point, he might have success with his jab, but again, mostly behind. He's going to have his moments, but mostly going to be, the story going to be Chaos Williams be a explode, land combinations, and probably even clinch up with him, probably explode in, land some combinations, then initiate a clinch, hold him against the cage. Matter of fact, it'll be him using the grappling instead of Baeza, just like he used it against Semelsberg. Semelsberg supposed to be a wrestler background. I don't think he went for a single takedown, and it was Chaos Williams a lot of times initiating the clinch against him. just to, freeze him up and give him something to deal with. And these guys that supposed to be wrestling backgrounds, they're not using a bit of wrestling. They're not initiating clinches. They're not level changing. They're not doing nothing to, use their wrestling as a weapon. They just have it there and not using it. So I feel like it'll be similar with Baeza. He's not going to use the wrestling, and Williams going to be the one clinching more than him, just to, like I said, give him a different look, whereas Baeza just going to be striking and be, like I said, a multi-dimensional fighter fighting one-dimensional, and that's a problem with a lot of these fighters, whether it be young, old, experienced veterans. They get caught up in just one skill set, and they forget that it's a mixed martial arts fight, and they don't try to use all that skill set. Or maybe it's just too tired, or maybe it's not what they train for, or maybe they just overconfident, whatever the case may be. I think it's going to be a case where it's going to cause Baeza to lose yet another fight. And then maybe his next fight he'll learn, maybe he take a step down in competition and then utilize his grappling. But again, and also it's not like Baeza has used wrestling so much. He only used scored 2 takedowns in his whole UFC career so far. And I think that includes Contender Series. So 5 fights, 2 takedown scores. So it's not like he's a guy that goes out there and shoot 10 takedowns a fight or scores 5, 3 takedowns a fight. So I think Chaos Williams simply going to outwork him, outpush him, outvalue him, and beat him to a decision. So in this fight, I have Chaos Williams via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's featherweight division, Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson. And how I see this one right here. So Leah Letson, I just flat out don't think she presents any skill set or advantage over a skill advantage over Spencer. She's not like a more technical striker, definitely not. Not a more technical grappler, definitely not. I think Spencer is a more technical striker. I think she got more dog in her. I think she's stronger, more experienced at a higher level, more accomplished. I think every area is like, you can say, oh, they can kind of match each other well in those areas, but I still like in every single area, I think Spencer either edges her or beats her by a mile in that area. I think this is not the greatest fight for Leah Letson to come back in it, but if she's able to pull it out, cool on her side, but I'm not banking on it. I'm not betting on it, and I'm highly confident in Spencer to be able to pull out a win in this one. She went in there with Nunes and went 5 rounds with Nunes, went 5 rounds with Cyber. The 2 greatest women's MMA fighters of all time went in there, I think within the same year probably even, or with 2 years still, which is crazy, and went 5 rounds with them. I don't think Leah Letson is such a technical striker. I think striking, whether it be this or that, I think Spencer should be the weirdest shots battle. Like she wore all of Cyborg's shots, she wore all of Nunes shots that, be putting people away. So she could definitely eat whatever Letson got to deal out there. Pressure to stay in her face, keep touching her. And I think Letson is gonna be the one that's gonna break down in a dog fight. And also Leah Letson hasn't fought in 4 years, 3 years. So she hasn't fought in a minute. We don't even know what Ultimate Fighter season she was on. We don't even know she was on that season. She was so irrelevant on that season. I think she at one point she lost to Macy Chiesa in the house. Then she won a split decision over Stolarenko, which really don't count for much. A lot of people could beat Stolarenko. By the way, Stolarenko fight at 135 now. Matter of fact, the whole season she was on fights at 135 now, and she's trying to fight at 145. So yeah, I think Spencer is going to be bigger, stronger, better striker, more experienced, tougher. And I think the case where good fight throughout, but I think Spencer's still ahead. Good competitive fight, good scrap. But that fight, Lacey's going to break down. Even if she was not inactive for 3 years, that pace is going to cause her to slow down, and probably even cause her to slow down even more in this fight. So probably competitive first round. The second round, Spencer just straight walking her down, touching her up, constantly in her face, tagging her. The third round, just be able to scoop her up, drag her to the ground, and tap her out in that third round. So in this fight, I have Felicia Spencer via third round submission. Now to our next fight we have in our co-main event in the heavyweight division, Ben Rothwell versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And I had somebody kind of comment and delete on this one. They said, tell me that Rogerio de Lima is a lot. If he wins, he wins. If he wins, he wins. That's all I'm going to say. If he wins, he wins. But I would say it's much, much closer to a lock on Ben Rothwell. And I think I put definitely high confidence on Ben Rothwell. What does Lima present? He's not a super technical striker. He's not a technical grappler. He has the cardio of an asthmatic with one lung or half a lung. The man has no cardio. He has good power, but no technique. Wrestling is average at best. Who has he beat? No one. Like the guy, like I said, what can you really present for Marcos Rogerio de Lima? He's a fat boy at heavyweight that got some big power in 1 round of cardio. That's all you can say about him. I think Ben Rothwell is a far better grappler than him. I think Ben Rothwell could easily stuff all his takedowns. So Rogerio de Lima has a puncher chance at best, or maybe a kicker chance. Maybe he lands such a big, heavy leg kick. But who's has he really landing good leg kicks is? I think what they call it, the crochet balls, who already got skinny, bony legs with bad knees. Yes, your leg kick's going to look good against him. But like I said, he got probably 4 leg kicks in him and probably about 5 overhands and about 5 hooks in him before his gas tank completely depletes. So I don't think he has that much in him. And Ben Rothwell has not really been stopped by anyone. Who has stopped Ben Rothwell? Like, really, no. I think only person who stopped him was Cain Velasquez and Andre Arlovski. And Cain Velasquez's stoppage was very questionable. It's not like he was hurt. It was just a positional stoppage. So Ben Rothwell has been there with a lot of heavy hitters. Took a lot of, like, pretty much every single shot Mark Hunt had to throw at him. I think even a head kick, overhand, all of Mark Hunt's, the uppercut, all of Mark Hunt's best shots. And at no point was he ever, like, dead to rights. So he's been there with a lot of good guys. OSP dropped for him momentarily. But like I said, the man has taken a lot of shots. Yes, age is a factor. But I don't think Rogerio de Lima is going to do anything at heavyweight. I don't think he's going to do really anything in his fight. Probably come out early, probably throw a couple big shots, but Roberts been avoid them and keep avoid him or take him, keep walking him down, keep touching him. And I'm gonna say he's gonna get him out in the first round. Like Rogerio de Lima gonna come out there swinging these big shots, missing, or catching shoulder. But yeah, Ben Rothwell could definitely weather that storm, avoid it. And just constantly stay in his face, tagging him and touching him up. And I don't think Rogerio de Lima is gonna wear the shots of Ben Rothwell very much. And Ben Rothwell don't have to load up. He already a true big heavyweight. Every little thing Ben Rothwell gonna touch you with, you're gonna feel. And I think Rogerio de Lima is gonna be getting rock buzzed by every little thing. Every time Ben Rothwell touch him, Rogerio de Lima gonna be shaking, rock, stumbling, and Ben Rothwell's gonna constantly walk him. It's gonna walk him down, stay in his face, and Rogerio de Lima, that gas tank gonna deplete probably within the first 2 minutes. And he gonna force Rogerio de Lima to try to shoot or throw overhand, and Rothwell is gonna put him in that neck crank choke and put him out in that first round. So in this fight, I got Ben Rothwell via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in our main event in the featherweight division, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. And I see this one right here. So Yair Rodriguez has some good flash in him. I guess the best thing he can attempt to do is try to take away the legs of Holloway early. Matter of fact, really, I'm not even gonna try to give him his props and stuff. I'm not to disrespect him, but what's the point of doing that? Like to drag a video out or try to drag something out just to be complimentary. It's not like me being quick to the point is disrespect. It just is what it is. Yair Rodriguez has always had a bit of questionable cardio. He's never been a guy, this guy's such a pace pusher. He's going to be able to push the pace through 5 rounds without issue. I mean, he could fight through 5 rounds without issue, but he's not going to be that guy that's going to constantly be in your face, pressuring you, that workman type fighter. When he's pressured, he typically cracks, simply start to break down, simply start to fatigue. And that has happened points and points in his career. So I feel like it'd be a case where Yair Rodriguez is going to be strong throughout. He'll be strong maybe through the first 2, maybe first 3 at best. But I see Holloway put him out in the third round. I think Holloway's going to constantly be in his face, constantly be digging the body. It's not going to be a case where Holloway head hunting or leg hunting or anything like that. It's going to be body, head. Man's going to be putting that investments in the body very much early. Not giving Yair that space to be flashy, spinning back kicks and spinning head kicks. He's going to be throwing them, but I think Holloway's going to be quick enough to see them, good eyes, good reads, good footwork to be able to avoid them, slip them, and to stay in his face and not give him any air or any room to breathe, and just be digging into the body, digging up top, and constantly just making Yair Rodriguez pay for his flashy movements. I think Holloway's a much better boxer, and it's going to really almost force Yair Rodriguez to be one kick at a time or try to box. And when he started to let his hands go, I feel like Holloway will be quick to counter him, quick to tag him on top, be rocking him and buzzing him, and just constantly stay in his face. And it's really just turn him into a punching bag after that first round. Just be walking him down, tear him down, having Rodriguez kind of fight and go out on his shield. And like really be taking a lot of damage in that second round. Then that third round, I think Holloway was going to unload on him and put him out early in that third round. So in this fight, I have Max Holloway via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Rodriguez. And as always, thanks for watching.